Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the July 21st, 2020 City Council meeting. We will call this meeting to order. We have every council member present today, so of course that means we have a quorum. Today we will have Chaplain Ralph Dawkins give us the prayer. Chaplain Dawkins, you are on.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I apologize that it might seem a little dark. I'm in one of the back rooms here, but I'm thankful that you guys have given me the opportunity to open this session in prayer. If you would join me for a word of prayer for just a moment, and then we'll resume. Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, I pray for those that are in authority in this city. I pray and lift up the mayor, her staff and assistants, this city council, the city manager, and all the people and departments that are instrumental in leading and directing our city. I pray that you would bless them to work together in unity to tackle the items that are on the agenda today. May you keep division from among them. And I pray that you would give them godly wisdom, directions, and instructions on how to lead, manage, and operate this city and all of its departments. I pray that you would give these leaders knowledge and guidance on how to deal with the community, facilities, and businesses, and all the problems that face our city and its people. Thank you that there are steps already being taken to reduce the number of COVID-19 cases in our city for the past few days. For your word declares that in Psalm 91, that you would give your angels charge over us and keep us in all of our ways. I pray for the police chiefs and the police force. I pray for the fire chief and the fire department and all the first responders who serve our city. And then lastly, I pray that you would bless our city with economic prosperity, that you would draw in and attract to our city industry, businesses, and corporations that will produce jobs and revenue to help it grow and prosper. I commend all these things concerning our city to you, God. And regardless of how things may look in the natural, I confess your word that you are well able to bring all things to pass that we have prayed over this city council meeting today. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen and amen. Thank you all for the opportunity to pray again. Have a great meeting. I got to head to San Antonio, but thank you and God bless. Stay safe.
Be safe.
Thanks, Chaplain. We appreciate that. All members of the public, council, and staff should begin speaking by stating their full name and SMD address, SMD position, or role within the city. We will move on to the public comment section of the agenda, and we'll start with a public comment from Alan Press. And he says, I appreciate Mayor Gunter's leadership and many steps taken to stem the spread of COVID-19 in our community. The situation has deteriorated since Council's 7/7 meeting. As a member of the public, trying to do my best to stay safe, but also understand our local public health response, I would be grateful if public health officials could present to City Council at its upcoming meeting. Questions in my mind include: 1, what is the difference between the PCR test and antigen test? 2, what numbers go into the positivity rate, now 25.8%, and how has that rate changed over time? What rate would indicate a community with low spread? 3, now that testing has a 7 to 10 day turnaround time, what do officials recommend for people who begin displaying symptoms and wish to be tested? 4, depending on the type of positive test, is there a different protocol for the person to follow? 5, what people resources are needed to conduct proper contact tracing as active cases grew from 436 on 7/7 to 802 on 7/16? 6, 10 of the 11 deaths occurred in the last 3 weeks. Currently hospitalized rose from 15 in late May to roughly 40 since 7/7. I would like to hear public health officials address these concerning increases and what it portends for the near future. 7, what do public health officials need from City Council at this time? What do they need from the public to decrease the rampant spread and nearly 26 positivity rate? City Council members have relationships in their districts and can influence behavior. Mayor Gunter has been out front on the issue and taken considerable flack. Strong support from council members could impact citizen behavior and improve the situation on the ground over time. Sincerely, Alan Press, resident of District Number 1. We also have public comment from Coco Simpson. San Angelo City Council members, the recent decisions coming out of your office are quite alarming. I'm speaking in reference to the cancellation of tournaments, races, and other outdoor recreational activities, amongst others. These events bring in millions of dollars to the San Angelo community. These are dollars your constituents need to pay their mortgages, put food on their tables, and house their kids. That money from the softball and baseball tournaments specifically would have also gone to support a massive city park that has zero income, not to mention these events being outdoors poses little health risk to anyone. On the topic of health risk, your office should always err on the side of freedom. In this age of information, ignorance is a choice. Most of us are smart enough to weigh the risk associated with our actions and make adult decisions based on the information at hand. We are also going to live with the consequences of those actions, not you. That being said, if people feel the risk I think it's supposed to be versus worth the reward, who are you to stop them? Then there is a science about how sunlight and heat kill corona. Who would have thought heat killing a virus? Good thing it's sitting at 100 degrees every day here in San Angelo, which makes your uneducated one-sided decision that much worse. This is America, and we are supposed to have the freedom to choose many things. Freedoms that generations before us fought and died for, but those freedoms are slowly eroding, and it's noticeable. Mayor Brenda Gunter and her private sessions with no input from the rest of the city council or other outside council have got to stop. Quite a few of us know about the happenings of the Bring the Heat tournament cancellation 2 days before the tournament, and it should be brought further to light and dealt with. What happened in that particular instance is absolutely abhorrent and is not tolerable. You city council members should absolutely hold her accountable for the loss of over $1 million to the San Angelo community, and now the blacklisting of San Angelo with the softball community. The people at the Parks and Recreation Department busted their humps to get that tournament here. And just like that, all that work was for naught and never will be again. Millions of dollars just gone. And for what? To save healthy people from a virus they aren't scared of. This has got to end now. Let adults make decisions on how they can best live their lives. Those who are scared of the coronavirus can mask up or stay home. The rest of us are ready to keep on living. Sincerely, Coco Simpson. And from Shirley Spears, she submitted a proclamation too late to be included in the city council meeting today, but we will say the following. We received a public comment from Shirley Spears, member of the Fort Concho Museum Board, requesting a proclamation of July 28th as San Angelo, Texas National Buffalo Soldier Day. In 1992, a joint resolution was presented by Congress recognizing the service of over 180,000 African-American troops. Fort Concho served as a military post for the 9th and 10th Cavalry Regiments and the 2nd and 25th Infantry Regiments from 1869 to 1885. The city of San Angelo recognizes the service of those soldiers at Fort Concho and recognizes that San Angelo became the home of many of them. Additionally, Fairmont Cemetery in San Angelo is the resting place of many of those honorable soldiers. For more details, the full proclamation is attached to the City Council background packet. So I think most of you received that. Community spread is in the hands of our community. Our citizens, each and every one of you play a part in stopping community spread. If you care about our local economy, if you care about our family-owned businesses, your hairdresser, your barber, your nail technician, then you should care about whether you're playing a part in the community spread of COVID-19. If you care about your neighbors, co-workers, friends, family, and fellow citizens, then we need each of you to take personal responsibility for your actions. Community spread happens in your front yard, your backyard, your street, and your living room. Going outside does not stop the spread. Community spread happens at house parties, pool parties, backyard parties, and street parties. Each of you are accountable for your actions, and each of you play a part in stopping the community spread. Mask or no mask, we definitely know people have strong beliefs concerning wearing masks, positively and negatively. Yes, we know in March the news reported masks are not necessary. Why was that the storyline in the news? It was the news headline then to make sure our health professionals had plenty of PPE or personal protection equipment, or face masks, gloves, medical gowns available for the hospitals, for the doctors and the nurses. The controversy continues on mask wearing, but I ask, is it too much to ask you to wear a mask at a time when we need the best from everyone? We know medical issues prevent people from wearing masks. We know people believe we have infringed upon their constitutional rights. However, by not wearing a mask, you may be endangering others, which in turn endangers small businesses. The debate on wearing masks will continue, but I ask you, if your doctor tells you you have high blood pressure, do you wait to react until you have a heart attack to listen to his advice? With that being said, we cannot afford another shutdown in San Angelo or Tom Green County. Tom Green County is considered a hot zone or red zone, meaning our increase in cases, our positivity rate has put us in a category that we should not be proud of. 2 weeks ago, our 7-day positivity rate was 25.8%. This past week, we had a 31.3% positivity rate. The state considers any positivity rate above 10% to be a cause for concern. On May 1st, we had 58 positive cases and 1 death. Today, we have 1,560 positive cases and 13 deaths. Many people have said that the number of deaths relative to the number of positive cases, well, they would take those odds any day in Las Vegas. If you're making that gamble, you're not only risking your life, but others as well. The number of deaths, however, is not the only impact on our community. The virus has impacted lives financially, emotionally, and mentally. If someone tests positive, there is a loss of income, medical bills, and potential long-term impact on one's health. Those hospitalized end up with substantial hospital bills with or without insurance and no income. If you work for someone and have tested positive, then you impact your employer's business, which could lead to closing the business for a 2-week time period. The business then, due to loss of income, is forced to lay off more employees. It is incredibly selfish of you as an individual to think only of yourself. I do not want our city to be a city that Governor Abbott shuts down due to our positivity rate. I do not want him to declare more categories of business to shut down or occupancies reduced. I believe all businesses are essential to our local economy and essential to a family's livelihood. We should not be in the business of picking or choosing which businesses and essential services will be allowed to be open or forced closed. Every business is important in terms of services or product offered, family income, employment, and reinvestment back into our economy. But once again, it is in your hands as a business owner or an employee or a customer. So if you're going to your hairdresser, your nail technician, your barber, or your favorite retail store, remember to wear a mask and practice 6 feet social distancing. Major big box retailers are mandating masks as they know their employees deserve the extra protection from being exposed from possible asymptomatic customers or individuals who do not care if they expose someone else to the virus. Our statistics show a heavy impact of positive cases in our Hispanic community. Of the total positive cases, 55% of the positive cases are Hispanic. We have, over the past 2 weeks, worked to get the community spread message out to the Hispanic community. We now report the daily numbers and information on COVID-19 in Spanish. We have asked our Hispanic community leaders to help in the messaging on Facebook, YouTube, and SATV Channel 17, all in Spanish. We have also reached out to the Hispanic radio station to help us in communicating the message on how to stop the community spread. Our largest age group testing positive is the 20 to 29-year-olds. Even the 0 to 19-year-olds are testing positive greater than our 50 to 59-year-olds. The 0 to 19 age group has more positive cases than the 60 to 69 and the 70+ age group. They might not have the strong symptoms or health impact as the older age categories, but the 20 to 29-year-olds are a major problem in regards to community spread. Why would you want to risk giving it to your parents or grandparents? We know the community needs faster results from testing. The longer it takes to get results from testing, the longer one has to be away from work. Shannon announced today that they have purchased more than Sophia tests that will produce faster results. This will make a big difference to help stop community spread and to limit the impact on families' finances. Lisa Curry, owner of the Waterford, announced she can now administer antibody tests, and as of this Wednesday, will be able to administer PCR tests with 24 to 48-hour results. She cannot take insurance, but the ability to get faster results is important. So what else are we doing as a city? I have created a working group to review TABC licensing to determine if we can get support for more categories of licenses other than just the simple 51%. I believe we need to be able to separate wine bars, live entertainment venues, beer pubs, vineyards, and tasting rooms from the simple 51%. Too many businesses were impacted and forced to close due to a few bad apples who abused the guidelines. In sports, even against opponents that are better rated or have a better record, you still go to the game with a strategy or game plan to win. Your coach will not allow you to throw in the towel before the game even starts. This spring season, many athletes in junior high, high school, and college have had to give up their passion for competitive sports. So many athletes lost their big moment to showcase their talent and perhaps earn an opportunity to get a scholarship and be accepted at a school of their choice. We do not want to be in the business of canceling events. Those are difficult, emotional decisions that are very hard to make. But for the San Angelo community, we must make the tough decisions that we believe will help us win against COVID-19. With rising hospitalizations, positivity rates, and more deaths, the best game plan will always be the strategy that gets us to the finish line and protects the greatest number of citizens. We, San Angelo, need to win this game. What are we going to have to do is the following: learn to live with COVID-19. Whatever it takes, we must understand the precautions that must be in place to ensure safety in providing services, safety in living our lives, and making sure that we maintain and protect the freedoms we have always enjoyed as Americans. This virus cannot be used to take away our cherished freedoms. But we also know that in order to continue to enjoy our freedoms, every citizen must do their part in helping to stop the spread. I ask for your help in making San Angelo a city that takes pride in standing tall and doing the right thing to protect our families, friends, neighbors, and fellow citizens. San Angelo has always been a city to take care of its fellow citizens. Our businesses need our support. Our local businesses' success depends on you. You as citizens to help them survive by doing the right thing. Wear a mask, social distance, and remember, it is in your sanitized hands. Thank you.
Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you go on, I'd like to kind of make an announcement regarding Mr. Prest's comment. He had a number of questions for the our medical folks, and Dr. Vredes is going to be on Facebook Live today at 3:30 on SATV Suddenlink Channel 17. So if people have questions, they are able to submit those to him, and he will be answering this today.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
Billy DeWitt, Single Member District 6. Mayor, I just want to say that I appreciate your leadership in handling COVID-19. I know that you have a group working with you, and I really appreciate all the hard work that's going into this. I know that it is distressing sometimes when we get comments of people feeling that we are trying to take away their freedoms, which I don't feel that way. I feel that as we see our numbers increasing, and you stated those statistics, that it's important for us to use good common sense in the decisions that we make for our community. So I know it's not easy for you or those on the task force, our city manager, Dr. Vredes, sometimes with all the negative feedback, but I am getting some feedback from some of my constituents that appreciate what we're doing in encouraging face masks, that appreciate what some of our big box stores locally are doing in requiring face masks before you enter their establishment. And I think everybody agrees with you, Mayor, that we don't want to see any more shutdowns in our city. But unfortunately, some people, I don't think, take that to heart. So I just wanted to go on record this morning saying, thank you for all the work that you and the working group that's with you are doing. We appreciate your efforts in trying to keep our community safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy. With that, we will move into the consent agenda. Are there any items from the consent agenda that council would like to pull? I'm going to pull item H. So with item H being pulled, I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the rest of the consent agenda, items A through G.
Billy DeWitt, Single Member District 6. I make the motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item H.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor, Tommy Hebert, Single Member District 1.
Second by Tommy Hebert. All of those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. Item H, second reading of an ordinance amending the budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30, 2020 for grants, reimbursed expenses, and capital projects. Tina, if you'll
Tina Dearcy, Director of Finance.
I want more explanation on this insurance, $100,000. That's my question is, again, explain to us, is this simply about the light poles that have been damaged, or is this due to increased accidents, creating an increase in our insurance costs?
Mayor, my understanding is that this is due to an increase in accidents, and so they're running low on their expenditure budget and need to budget for additional insurance proceeds should they have additional accidents in this fiscal year. But I think that either Shane or Patrick should be on the line to speak more clearly to that.
All right, so I don't need them to explain it any further. I know what they said last time. I just want to make sure that that is the only reason due to people running into our light poles that we've had this, that we need to look for additional funding for it. Is that,
Yeah.
If that is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
only issue, then I accept that.
Yes, ma'am. And the only reason we would receive insurance proceeds would be in that instance. And so, again, it's just to have the expenditure budget in place should they need it this fiscal year. There wouldn't be an expenditure without the offsetting revenue.
Thank you, Tina. With that, I will ask that a motion be made to accept item H.
Harry Thomas, Single Member District 3. I make a motion that we approve this particular item.
Do I have a second?
Second.
A second by Lane. All in favor, say aye.
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 With that, the motion passes 7-0. We will now move into the regular agenda. Item A, consider approving and public hearing of the 2020-2024 5-year consolidated plan for the use of CDBG and home grant funds, and authorizing the city manager to execute all related documents and certifications. Bob Salas, you are on.
Good morning, Mayor, Council. Bob Salas, Director of Neighborhood and Family Services. The city's 5-year consolidated plan is a roadmap for the allocation and expenditure of CDBG and home grant funds over the next 5 program years, which covers 2020 through 2024. As part of the plan, we assess the needs of low-income residents, identified services and resources available throughout the city, and then we created a strategic plan to meet those needs. Here's a sample of the key areas the plan covers. It includes housing needs and market analysis, public housing issues, barriers to affordable housing, lead-based paint abatement, citizen participation issues, and a homeless and special needs assessments. We began the process with public meetings and interviews with key stakeholders such as service providers, citizen groups, affordable housing stakeholders. And then we held a virtual public meeting on May the 28th. And finally, we collected data and conducted the research to create our plan. This is a list of some of the, excuse me, some of the key resources we used to put the plan together. It includes the recent housing study conducted last year, the latest American Community Survey estimates, the census data, PHA strategic plan, and HUD strategic plan and the HUD CHAS data. Here's a graphic depicting the funding trend over the past several years. Well, it's been on a downward trend. It appears Congress is positioned to increase the national allocation substantially in the coming years. And of course, we look forward to that increase. Here are the goals and objectives we are recommending. They are based on the HUD mission and strategic plan, local needs based on citizen and stakeholder input, and of course, staff analysis. We plan on rehabilitating at least 125 homes under the Creating Decent Housing objective. We want to provide down payment and closing costs for at least 30 first-time home buyers. Replace siding and leverage volunteers to paint at least 125 homes during our annual blitzes. Have code compliance, inspect at least 1,200 properties in neighborhoods targeted for revitalization. Construct at least 15 new homes in those same neighborhoods, and assist at least 105 special needs clients with rental payments. As part of the comp plan, we are required to develop, excuse me, to develop and submit annual action plans that outline the funds and expenditures for each year of the comp plan, starting with 2020. We anticipate receiving $718,662 of CDBG funds in this year, and we recommend $136,000 for admin, $112,000 for program delivery, $168,000 for blitz rehab projects, $125,000 for emergency repairs, $38,000 for code compliance, and $139,000 for debt payment services. And for home grants, we anticipate receiving $379,663, and we recommend $75,000 for admin, $93,000 for first-time home buyers programs, $75,000 for TBRA, and $135,000 for Galilee CDC total set aside. That's it for my presentation. I'll be glad to answer any questions. We ask for council's approval.
Do I have questions for Bob from council?
I do, Mayor. Billy DeWitt, single member District 6. Bob, in both home and CDBG funds, the administrative dollars, are those salaries and supplies, office supplies, that sort of thing?
They are basically they are for, we break it up in CDBG. We have 2 pots of admin. One is for program delivery. Those are for people who actually work the project and the program. And the other is for the overall admin, salaries, benefits, supplies, equipment, computers, those kind of things.
Okay. And the $38,000 for CDBG, funds for code compliance. What does that cover?
That will actually pay for the salary of an actual code compliance officer to be out in our target areas. And we considered that this year because we expanded, as you know, we expanded our target areas to Bel Air and to Lakeview. So we're hoping that the focused attention on those two areas is going to help us with our Revite program.
Okay. And Bob, I know that kind of one of the issues that we face is our homeless population. And in the report, it was the special needs population. One of the goals was to continue to expand efforts that eliminate or prevent homelessness. Can you tell me what has been done over the past year to address our homeless group?
Absolutely. As you know, the Salvation Army closed their shelter, which kind of created additional problems. We went out and got a grant for $179,000 from the HUD Continuum of Care. That program is going to create a rapid rehousing program for the homeless. We're going to work with the Public Housing Authority to earmark some special vouchers to get folks in and out quickly, get them out of the street, get them into housing, permanent housing right away. And we're going to include case management. That's the one thing that's always been missing. You can get someone into a house, but without the case management to help them navigate through the problems they face, to get the supportive services they need, I think this program is going to help a lot.
Okay.
That's our major thrust for the homeless.
Okay, and then just one final thing, Bob, I think. I know that in the past, what you've shared with us is that we have about 25 to 30 people in the homeless population that want to be home. Well, I don't know that they want to be homeless, but that, you know, they resist moving into a shelter or anything. And it seems like our panhandling activities on street corners and particularly on the corner of 6th and Chadbourne, where, you know, there's an inordinate amount of trash gathered there. And, you know, it's just kind of an eyesore. Is there anything at all that we can do about that?
Well, unfortunately, we do have an ordinance that allows us to move folks from, not allow them to camp in our right-of-ways. However, that is predicated on the fact that we have plenty of shelter for them. With the closure of Salvation Army shelter, we really can't enforce that. We do encourage them to move on. There's not a lot we can do for someone who is chronically homeless and does not want case management, does not want supportive services, refuses to participate. We can't do anything about that. That's unfortunate, but I think most cities face that problem.
Okay, so all we can do at this point is encourage them to, you know, to disperse and move on. We can't really do anything if we don't have a shelter for them to go to.
At this point, I think we do encourage, but however, saying that, we do have the opportunity to encourage them to participate in our new rapid rehousing program. So I'm hoping that once we get the contract, which is coming soon, we'll be able to engage with these folks and try to convince them to stay off the streets and into this permanent housing. It is a tough road to hoe for chronic homeless. I can tell you that. I think, again, most cities face the same thing we do.
All right. Thank you, Bob.
Yes, ma'am.
Bob, I have a few questions. One, in the public meetings, how many people attended those meetings?
Actually, we had over 80 views on our public, in our YouTube statistics. And we had, I believe we had over 13 actually participating, and we had several comments. So,
and those comments were what?
The comments were mostly, a lot of them were on homelessness. They're asking us to look into programs to assist homeless. And then some of them were supportive of our affordable housing programs we have, encouraging us to not only continue, but expand those programs.
All right, you also say on here that you are using the census information from 2010. Are we using that specifically from 2010 without new projections on what the census might be in 2020?
That's actually a little misleading because although the official is 2010, there's the American Community Survey that we use. That's updated to 2011 to 2019. So a lot of the data is relatively new, but the official census is only the 2010. To be honest with you, we use very little of that. We mostly use the ACS.
All right. So then if you'll go to the slide that breaks down the dollar amounts, and there's one for a debt payment of $139,000. Talk about what that debt payment is.
That is our payments for the Section 108 loan that we received years back to build the Producers Park and renovate the Rio Vista Park. It is unfortunate we have to pay CDBG funds, using CDBG funds to pay for that loan. And we expect for it to mature in, I think, 2030. I'm looking at my staff member here.
What year? In what year does it expire?
I believe it's, we're shooting for 2030 as the, I think it matures 2030. We have a few more years left.
Talk to me about, because we have obviously issues with rent payments, et cetera. The CARES Act that has been approved allows for people to apply for monies relative to their inability to pay their rent and or mortgages. How have we worked with people to make sure they understand what the CARES Act is and how they might qualify?
Well, we have the guidelines and we have the application online. Of course, they call us, they email us. We've been working with a lot of folks to provide the information they need. Ultimately, though, these are CDBG funds and we have to handle them like CDBG funds, which means that they are income limited. There are some stipulations we got to cover. We do ask for identification, birth certificates, those kind of things that normally we ask for CDBG in any CDBG program. It seems a little onerous, but unfortunately it's required. So we are limited on who we can assist. We just can't help everybody, unfortunately.
Yes, but I think my question is the educational element that we offer people understanding CARES. So even though you're limited in terms of what you can do, are we making people aware of what that CARES Act will allow them to do and how they can apply outside the limitations of what you do?
Brian did, in fact, put out a PSA. We've done it a couple of times already, and every time we do a PSA on this program, we do get a lot of responses. So that's our effort, is to try to get the word out through Brian, and that's the best we can do at this point.
So when are we, it seems to me we probably need him to go out again on that PSA. So I think we need to do that on a regular basis. So I want to make sure we follow up on that.
Yes, ma'am. We actually did it the other day. I think Friday. We sent out the and it got good coverage. I think the papers carried it, the news carried it, the media pretty much across the board carried the notice that we were still entertaining applications.
All right, on your Blitz rehab project, talk to me about the neighborhoods. Have we done a Blitz this year?
We did. We kind of coordinated with the Bradford storm recovery and focused on the Bradford area. Unfortunately, we didn't have any volunteers. We did it through contractors. And we were able to, I believe we had 21 homes that we re-sided and painted, but it was through professionals.
Okay. All right, do I have any further questions or comments from council? With none, do I have a motion to approve the 5-year consolidated plan for CDBG and home grant funds?
Mayor Tommy Hebert, single member District 1. I make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Tommy. Do I have a second?
I second
Harry
it.
Thomas, single member District 3.
Thank you, Harry. With that, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion passes 7-0. Item B, consider approving a policy waiving fees for animal pickup. Morgan, you're on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just bringing up my PowerPoint. What I have before you today is an opportunity for further improvement. You'll recall that we spoke about, Morgan Chegwin, Assistant Director of Neighborhood and Family Services. Back in February, we did talk about some changes to the pickup fee of $25. We made that change in February to exclude wildlife, and further improvements were identified to make a policy to allow the city manager or his designee to waive that $25 pickup fee in certain circumstances.
You want to go back to that first slide, because I thought what we approved, the pickup fee waiver, was because of wildlife. So the deer,
Right.
the foxes, or whatever.
Yes.
We said,
Yes, so that,
okay, so I'm confused.
so that's already approved. So the $25 fee still stood for domestic animals. So what's before you today is an opportunity to waive that fee for the pickup of domestic animals in certain circumstances. For example, if the citizen requesting the pickup is elderly and low income, the city manager would have opportunity to review that. Our staff would request the necessary documentation for proof of that, and then take before the city manager for opportunity to waive that fee, so that citizens have that flexibility that if they are over 65 and if they are low income as defined by our other programming in neighborhood and family services, that the city manager at that point may waive the $25 fee for the pickup of domestic animals. So that is what's before you today. Assign that opportunity to the city manager.
All right, do I have questions for Morgan from council?
Mayor, I do. This is Lane Carter, District 5. Just to clarify, is it elderly and low income, or elderly or low income?
Our recommendation is that the citizen would be both elderly and low income.
All right, Lucy, I think you had a question.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to ask also, would that include somehow in the situation or circumstance, would that include the disabled also?
That's not being considered at this time, but it would certainly be the council's option to add that to the policy.
I would like to see that happen. I also just have a comment. We don't have very many people that call us in their time of need, and especially when they're elderly, that they call and they say, we need help. So I think this is the perfect time to be able to waive the fee and help the people that are elderly, that are disabled, that have low income, that we're able to help them out. And especially when they want to stop the animal, like say for instance, cats, to keep them from mating, or dogs or whatever. And I know that everybody says, well, stop feeding them. Yeah, well, surely they can stop feeding them, but the animals are going to go someplace else. So that's just moving the problem on down. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to take to be able to help our community out, especially our elderly, low income, and disabled. Thank you.
May I ask a question? If we would give consideration to the following, if that cat or that domestic animal was registered to that homeowner, or is it a situation where if it is not, because my great concern of people who do have feral cats in their neighborhoods. So I don't think if a feral cat dies in your front yard that you should be responsible for a feral cat. On the other hand, if that animal is your animal registered to you and has tags, would that change any consideration? Or should there be any consideration?
Sure. So I think the first clarification to make is that this pickup fee is for deceased animals or live animals. So for example, if you have caught a cat in a trap, for example, and want it picked up, then this fee, so it's a live animal, the fee is generally $25 for that service, and we would come and pick it up. There would be this opportunity that citizens who qualify could have the fee waived. Now, if it is their own pet, we do have a different process for that. So this is not, this policy and this opportunity for fee waiver doesn't speak to editing our practice for the owner release of pets, for example. The Animal Shelter Advisory Committee in 2019 approved a policy whereby citizens wishing to surrender their own pet, cat, dog, whatever it may be, come in for a counseling appointment first to identify other opportunities to rehome the pet responsibly or provide some kind of relief to that property, the pet owner, to still provide some relief to the shelter. That really goes into more of our core missions related to American Pets Alive and the efforts that we've made there. As you'll recall, you tasked me with getting to 90% live released within 3 years. So our goal is September 2021. Getting a hold of our intake and decreasing our intake was the first task we were assigned by American Pets Alive. They recommended that our community's intake at the shelter was 4 times the national average for a community our size, that based on our population, we should be taking in about 1,400 animals a year. And at the time we started Pets Alive, we were taking in about 5,500 animals a year. So we have a great disparity there. So our intent with this policy is not to make it easier to bring pets to the shelter. It's simply to make it easier for those citizens who are in need. If you're both elderly and low income, and if the council does opt to add disabled to that as well, then we want to be able to provide relief to those specific citizens. It's not intended to open the door for easier intake into the shelter, as we can't handle a live release for a large volume increase to our inventory.
All right.
Does that answer your question, Mayor?
Do I have comments from someone? I can't see who might be asking or wanting to ask a question. So you'll just have to speak up. So who would like to add some more comments or questions? No one? All right, so what I hear and understand is that what we'd like to do is to add disabled to the pickup fee waiver. So it would be circumstances that may warrant the waiver would be elderly, low income, and disabled.
Yes.
Is that what council is asking?
Yes.
Well, Mayor, I
Yes,
have
Billy.
Billy DeWitt, single member District 6. What I understood earlier was that both of these circumstances, elderly and low income, would have to apply for the fee to be waived. If we add this disability, does that mean that all 3 circumstances would have to be present for us to waive the fee? Because I'm not sure that's what we would want.
It is not what we would want, Bill.
No.
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I think elderly and low income work together, I think, or separately disabled. But I don't think that we are intending, and you guys might say different, we are not intending that someone would have to be disabled first and then low income second and then elderly third. So it wouldn't be a 3-pronged qualification.
Okay, well, I just wanted, Mayor, that to be clear that, you know, we weren't saying that all 3 circumstances had to be present.
No.
Okay. Does that make sense? Any comments on that from anyone?
Mayor, may I ask, is there opportunity to say both disabled and low income, or both elderly and low income, or disabled at any income? That's my only question for clarification.
Lucy, you want to add comment to that?
I would like to see disabled at any income, because, or like you said earlier, that it would come to the city manager to look at, to review it. I would like that to come across as if they're disabled and they cannot go out there and take the cat or the dog or whatever, I would like to be able to help them. So I think it would be separated from the elderly low income.
So you're saying that circumstances that may warrant a waiver are 1, elderly who are also low income, and 2, it would be disabled and low income, or would it just be disabled regardless of income?
Just disabled.
All right, so there's 2 categories, elderly and low income as one category, and the second category would be disabled.
That's what I would like to see.
Any further comment?
Mayor, Harry
Yeah,
Thomas,
Mayor.
Single Member District 3.
Okay, Harry?
Just a real quick question. How many of these do we anticipate is going to have to go to the city manager to be waived?
Well, the question would be, do we want the city manager to have to waive them, or do we want the authority given to Morgan to waive it so that we don't create more red tape and more time in order to get it taken care of?
Thank you, Mayor, for that clarification, because that was my point. I'm not sure at this point that all this stuff needs to go across the city manager's desk. So if we can do it where Morgan can make that change, that call, Bob Salas, whoever, I just don't think it needs to go across Daniel's desk for this type of situation.
Harry, would you then please designate who you would like to have the ability to waive that fee? We need that to be specific.
Say again?
Harry, would you determine who you want to be the person who can waive the pickup fee? So do you want it to be Morgan? Do you want it to be Bob Salas, or do you want it to be an assistant city manager who has this responsibility?
Well, I think that was
Okay.
that was my question to begin with, Mayor, and that is does Morgan have any idea how many of these she anticipates that she's going to have to do in a period of time? So then we can say, okay, well, it needs to go to Bob or one of the assistant city managers, or Morgan can take care of it. I mean, we just kind of need a ballpark. I mean, if it's going to be 50 or 60 a month, then we probably need to have somebody a little bit higher up the food chain. But if it's going to be 1 or 2 a month, then Morgan should be able to have that capability of doing that.
Morgan, can you talk about how many phone calls you get on a monthly basis?
Sure, we haven't been screening for age or income qualifications or disability. I do anticipate it would be about half a dozen a month, just based on anecdotal experience interacting with citizens. I do think the language before you in the policy does allow for any designee of the city manager, whether it be myself or Bob, to be that person to waive the fee, that it already speaks to that without naming a name, so that the policy can be evergreen as staff changes over.
Well, I don't want red tape, so I don't think we want to allow city manager. That needs to be taken out. So I think we have to specifically say Morgan has the ability to waive the pickup fee in certain circumstances.
And I don't want to create this is copied after other departments who have similar policies before the council, that those also state city manager or his designee. So just for ease of administration, to be similar to other city departments, that's why the language is worded in such a way.
Well, that doesn't mean we don't want to change it. Daniel, would you comment on what you would like the language to be, considering the fact it's either going to land on your desk,
No.
or you're going to have somebody that you designate who has the authority to waive the pickup fee, but we need to designate who that person will be.
Sure. Daniel Valenzuela, City Manager. Mayor, I don't have an issue with the way it's worded right now as far as allowing city manager, because I can designate, and that means that it's really not going to cross my desk. And we do have people that do transition out, turnover. It'll make it a lot easier for me just to designate that individual as that happens, and we can move this through there quite quickly. So I don't have an issue whatsoever with the way it's worded right now.
Okay, but who's the designee going to be?
Right now, I would put the Assistant Director of Neighborhood and Family Services. I wouldn't say Morgan, I'd say the position.
All right, is everyone clear on that?
Yes.
What did Daniel say at the end? It was either going to be who or Morgan?
It's the Assistant Director of
Okay.
Neighborhood and Family Services, which is the person who's over the family shelter or the animal shelter.
Okay, further questions or comments? With none, then may I have a motion? Lucy, do you want to make the motion?
Yes, ma'am. Lucy Gonzalez, Single Member District 4. I move to approve as presented.
But as presented is, we can't do as presented because we've made changes.
Oh, that's right. We're gonna add the disability to the low income and the elderly. And then, are we gonna stick with the allowing the city manager designate to waive pickup fee in certain circumstances?
What we're gonna, I think what you're asking to have the motion be is that what we would do is we would consider waivers for the elderly and low income and then we would also allow a waiver to be on the fee be allowed for the disabled regardless of income. And then we are asking that the Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services would be allowed to waive the pickup fee.
Yes, ma'am. That is what I'm talking about.
Okay, that is the motion. Do I have a second?
But just for clarification, Mayor, this is Harry Thomas, Single Member District 3. I thought I just heard Daniel say that it still should be worded in such a way where the city manager or his designate, and his designate in this particular case would be the Assistant Neighborhood Services Director. So I think we need to keep that city manager or his designate.
That's what Teresa is nodding about.
Yes, I think so. If Morgan's position, for instance, became vacant, then we would have nobody who makes those decisions. But if we leave it written as it's stated to allow Daniel to designate somebody, then he could designate Bob, for instance, if Morgan's position becomes vacant.
I agree with that.
Or somebody else. So it does allow more flexibility. But today, Daniel did designate Morgan to fill that role.
Well, he designated the Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services. We didn't designate a name, we designated a position.
Correct.
To be specific. Okay, with that motion, is there a second?
I'll second that with the city manager and having his designee, and since it would be the assistant director right now, but leaving it as designee for greatest flexibility, I'll second that motion.
All of those in favor say aye.
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 With none opposed, motion passes 7-0. We will now move on to item C, first reading of public hearing of an ordinance rezoning property from the single-family residential zoning district to the neighborhood commercial zoning district being 0.138 acres at the southwest corner of West Avenue V and South Bryant Boulevard. John James is on for this presentation.
Thank you. As you mentioned, this is a rezoning. You can see the location here on the map is on South Bryant at Avenue V. This is currently zoned residential single family, and the request is to go to neighborhood commercial. This is in the long range comprehensive plan as neighborhood center, which allows for neighborhood commercial like this. And you can see on the map to the right, there are some other corner properties just like this one just to the south, and then there's more that you can't see on the screen that have recently been zoned to commercial. And so this is just one more of those. Again, it is on a major thoroughfare on a corner lot, and the proposed use, although it could be any neighborhood commercial use, the use being considered at this point is a drive-through grocery business. Here's a couple of pictures of the lot. The one on the left, you can see that it's currently vacant. And we did send out our notices to the surrounding property owners, received one in favor and none in opposition. And some of the reasons that we looked at in recommending approval, this has been vacant since 1972. Oftentimes these properties that are right adjacent to a major street like Bryant are often difficult to develop as a single family home. And so this rezoning to commercial makes sense. As I mentioned earlier, this is a continuation of commercial development along South Bryant. Similar properties have been rezoned recently, just like this. It does comply with these neighborhood commercial zoning standards, and there is access from Avenue V in case that XDOT wouldn't allow an access directly off of Bryant. Staff does recommend approval. This went to the Planning Commission at their June 15th meeting where they unanimously recommended approval. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Do I have any questions from council?
Yes, I've got one for John.
Tom, you're on.
Yeah, John, can this be licensed as a liquor store?
That's a good question. It would have to go through our process. I believe that it can and that they could sell alcohol, but at this point, that's something we would have to look into in more detail, in terms of, what distance is it from other uses? Are there any schools in the area, for example? And at this point, I don't know that that's something we could answer definitively.
Okay, cool. No, thanks, John.
That could be an option.
So the zoning would allow it.
Yes, the zoning would. That's correct.
All right, any other questions? With none, do I have a motion for approval?
Harry Thomas, single member District 3. This is in my district, and I move to approve as presented.
A second?
Second. Lucy
Second by
Gonzalez,
Lucy Gonzalez,
single member District 4.
single member District 4. Sorry, my tongue is tied with an allergy pill, so dry mouth. With that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 7-0. That concludes our regular agenda. We will now move into the closed session. The executive session under provision of Government Code Title 5, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government Chapter 551, Open Meetings, Subchapter D, Exceptions to Requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. A, 551.071, Consultation with attorney regarding water rights and contracts for Lake Nasworthy. And 2, 551.072, Deliberation about real property regarding the Ford Ranch. With that, we will now move into the closed session. Okay, so we are back into the regular session of this city council meeting. So we will consider the items discussed in the closed session. Tom Thompson, if you would make your announcement, please.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute all necessary documents for the sale of approximately 575 acres of the Ford Ranch for a price of no less than $1,950 per acre to be sold to Adam and Kimberly Ellisor.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Lane Carter. All of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, motion passes 7-0. We will now go into item B, consideration of approving various board nominations for the tax increment reinvestment zone. John Mark Hogue for SMD 1, Greg Gaylor, SMD 2, and Jim Cummings for the mayor to their second terms, and Dundra Butler, SMD 4, to a third term, all ending July 2022. Do I have a motion to accept these board positions as read?
Harry Thomas, single member.
Okay, Harry made a motion, Tommy Hebert seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
With none opposed, those board nominations have been approved. And with that, we will go to C, announcements and consideration of future agenda items. Does council have any?
I've got one. Mayor Gunner, Tom Thompson, single member District 2. I'd like to bring Jeremy Argison up again from the airport. I'd like to know the status of our airport study and kind of looking at some development of specifically potential places to build and erect T-hangers that may not involve anything else that we might be able to work out with somebody in an interlocal agreement.
Tom, we have that scheduled for the master plan for the airport to be presented to council the first week in August. So the first council meeting, so it will be presented then. So your timing is good. So we'll see you soon. And then I want to make sure, I had asked in March to review the ordinance in terms of the time frame that people are no longer allowed to knock on people's doors and discuss selling them something. So if we would make sure we bring that back. With that, do I have a motion? Oh, Lucy, go ahead.
I have a question. Mayor, are we still having the guy from Suddenly come up and discuss their business?
No, we're not, but we are continuing to ask all citizens to take the survey on Suddenlink if they could, and to continue to send their comments, their questions, their concerns, their complaints to City Hall at 72 West College Avenue. And that is 76903. So we'll ask citizens to continue. We take those and send to the FCC a packet every week. So you can do that. And the survey, I believe, is on City of San Angelo, tx.us/Suddenlink for those of you who still want to give input. Because of the governor's orders, we are not allowed to meet in person, although I had said we would meet in person today. The governor has said, no, we cannot do that. So we will continue to meet on Zoom until we are authorized to stop doing that or to meet in person. So continue to send your information in regards to Suddenlink. With that, do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn. Tommy Hebert.
And a second by Lucy. So all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried and meeting is adjourned.